All right, it's the beginning of June. It's been about a month since our last coffee farm update, and we're back in the same location in the coffee orchard next to the grumachama tree, the Brazilian cherry, because we had been following this tree here and some of the neighboring trees over the last several months to see what kind of changes we could notice. And one of the first things you notice, I just turned back to this tree here, is that some of the coffee cherries are now starting to change color. Mostly yellow is what you see, like right here. Last month these were green. And you're getting a few oddballs that are turning all the way red like that, but not the majority. Sometimes this is actually due to insect damage. And usually the first fruit to change color is usually lower quality than what's going to come later on. Again, these are just starting, the majority of the fruit are just starting to change, and they're just starting to ripen. And they won't be fully ripe until probably July or August. This tree is the one we've been following the closest. And you can see here that it's still quite green. The cherries are larger than they were last month, but other than that, it's not much difference. Not much difference to show. One of the things you notice about the orchard itself are these big furrows now that weren't there last month in the weeds. The weeds are getting out of control, so we've had to drive a tractor through the rows. And unfortunately you can't get between each tree, so that leaves you with these ridges, these high ridges of weeds, and you can see the weeds will try to actually climb up on the coffee trees. And fortunately though, there are some weed whackers, a crew of weed whackers, and you might even be able to hear them in the background of this video. They're working their way up the hill gradually, and they might be here by tomorrow or the next day, and they will come and they will weed whack in between all the trees. They'll remove all of this, and that will take care of the weeds for about 2 months. Then they'll have to come back. This brings up one of the problems with having an organic farm, is the increased labor costs you're going to have. And if this was just a regular non-organic coffee farm, this would just all get sprayed with herbicide and it would look like a moonscape. And that's where most of your coffee comes from worldwide, are farms just like that. When you're organic, the weeds start growing, and because you're in the tropics, you get huge, what do you call them, Frankenstein weeds. And they need to be constantly cut back or plowed under, or cut with a mower like on a tractor, or weed whacked. And all of that costs. You have to pay the labor charges. So those are all costs that you would have on an organic farm, and the increased workload as well that you wouldn't have on a regular farm. So if you're going to have an organic farm, there's always that increased labor cost balance. You want to make money, you want to make a profit, but at the same time, the costs are higher. So that's something to always keep in mind if you are running an organic farm.